in my estimation, the word genius gets bandied about a little too much, which is why I only reserve it for super smart scientists and mustached men with luscious, thick lips like John Oates. So today we're talking a little bit about Hall & Oates and how really they just bring a lot of great music, and I'm going to do a music theory breakdown of some stuff that really kind of defined 80s pop. We're going to use the song Maneater as an example. I'm doing this as part of 80s Week on the channel here. Also made a 80s themed music video called Ladies from the 80s that you should definitely check out if you really want to use a lot of this practical music information, right? So this is a great kind of learning thing just about chords, music theory, parallel, relative minor and major, stuff like that. And it's two main parts, okay? So the iconic part is the... You know it. So, oh, here she comes. So we'll call this the chorus. But the second time through, there's a little variation. And then it goes into the verse. Which is definitely a major feel. It's got some cool stuff going on, especially this part. So we're going to use this as an example to kind of just showcase how you can kind of playfully dance between major and minor, because I think John Oates just does a fantastic job of this in a lot of his songs. This is just a good example of it. All right. So first we're just going to do a descending run down the chords in the key of B minor, which is also essentially the same chords that you'll find in the key of D major. Okay, a lot of people have problems being like, well, what's the difference between like major and minor? Like, isn't D major and B minor, they're the same chords essentially, but how does this work? This is a great example of the functionality of switching between major and minor, all right? So we start on a B minor chord. I'm just using a bar chord here on the D'Angelico Deluxe SS, semi-hollow body. So 7th fret on the low E string, and then a minor shape, so 7, 9, 9, 7, 7, 7. Now we can just descend through the B minor scale and play different chords in there, right? So for instance, we're just gonna go from B minor to A major to G major, but then we're gonna go F sharp major. Okay, so this is the first time we're kind of taking a detour out of diatonically what chords should exist in this key. All right, so we're descending, we're just going through it. Now that F sharp major right there, if we just stay with the keys, the key, it should be like maybe like an F sharp minor or something like that, right? But the reason it's major is because if you look at B, and then we just go through the minor scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth of any chord is always gonna have a disproportionate draw back to home, right? So in this case, we have F sharp. Now, albeit a lower octave, an octave lower. So that F sharp is really gonna work as like a dominant 7th chord almost, even if you just play it as major, to get back home here, right? Now the cool thing is, this is a great job in kind of just thinking of different chords and like replacements for chords to kind of move a progression in a certain way. The second time that we do it, we're still gonna descend from B minor to A, but instead of going to the G, we're gonna go E minor to G major. And the reason we do that is because it sets us up to start the verse, right? Which is kind of like a very, I don't know, almost kind of like a much happier vibe in the verse. Like the chorus is the, oh, here she comes, right? It's, man, you look out, watch out, this girl's gonna eat you up. So that kind of has a very minor vibe, but also like any good man-eating woman, there's good with the bad that kind of draws you in. So the verses have a more major feel, and that's why the song is generally notated, or people will be like, all right, well, this is actually in the key of D, right? D major. So let's just talk about the chords that go in the verse, or the verse part, and then we'll kind of bring it all in and see how they all kind of interact together, right? So we have the one chord in D major, which is D, to the A, D, E, F sharp, G, A, the 5 chord, A major, a C major, to a B major. Okay, so already really kind of interesting. Now, one thing, maybe like the most common chord outside of a key will be what's called a flat 7 major chord. So in the key of D major, the 7th note, again, you can count through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, count through the major scale to find the 7th note, in D major is a C sharp. Again, the shortcut to finding the 7th note in any major key is just taking the root note, going back one, would be a C sharp, right? So, technically there's not supposed to be any C notes in D major, but something that you'll see a lot of the time is taking the flat 7 and turning that into a major chord. It just sounds pretty good, right? So this is the first example in the verse of going outside of that key to add that flat 7 major chord. I did a whole video just on this if you're interested. So we've got the 1 chord to the A to the flat 7 major chord. Now technically, the relative minor in the key of D, which just means the most important minor chord, is always going to be 3 frets back. Like say you're in the key of, like when you first start playing guitar, usually songs will be in the key of C, and like A minor always follows it because there's a really great relationship between that 1 chord and the 6th chord in any key, right? So D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, B minor, right? We've already talked about B minor being kind of like the home key of the verse specifically, but we're actually going to make this major. So this is like another thing, music theory-wise, that comes into play. This kind of dance between major and minor of the same root note. We see a lot of B minor chords in this song, and we also see B major chords in this song. You'll see this referred to as parallel major or minor in a lot of circumstances, right? So again, this is clearly in D major. We start with that D major chord to A, to the flat 7 major chord, to a major version of the 6th chord. Then we go back to E minor, right? And then after that, we're gonna walk it from A major. We're gonna go back to A. I'm just using different chord voicings just because it's kind of how I play it. This isn't like an official way to play the song or anything. But you go back to A, and then we're gonna play A sharp or B flat diminished as a way to get back to B minor. So again, a really masterful way of kind of navigating chords to kind of support a really iconic melody, essentially, through the song. And then we have, we're kind of making our way from major to minor. Okay, so again, we're just gonna run through the chords real quick. D major, the 1 chord in the key of D, to the 5 chord in the key of D, to the flat 7 chord, to like a parallel major, B major, to E minor, which would be the 2 chord, to the 5 chord, but then kind of like a sharp 5, right, diminished into minor. Okay, then we go from A to B major again, and that sets us up for the money shot back to B minor for the Maneater part, right? You can do kind of like a little walk back there. Again, John Oates said that he was very heavily inspired by a lot of Motown stuff, which again, a lot of that stuff is just like really phenomenal musically. And that's something that I think is awesome about a lot of 80s pop music, is it's very, musically rich and musically dense, and there's a lot to be learned from just the arrangement of it. And again, this doesn't really sound anything like how the recorded version of it is. It's just the chords, right? But I think, like I said, you can learn a lot from these chords. So we've got 2 distinct parts. One of them is in B minor. The other one is in D major, which essentially, like I said, is the same key. If you take D major, the 6th note in that key, in any key, is going to be where the relative minor is, which is going to be a great way that you can kind of like use these tricks that he uses to kind of give a certain part of a song a certain vibe. And a lot of times you'll see maybe just like a vibe of a song is just one vibe through the entire thing, which is totally fine. Doesn't make it any better or worse of a song. But I think this is a great example of a song that kind of has 2 distinctly different vibes. The D major like, all right vibe, and the B minor like, look out vibe, right? And I think all that is just kind of stuff that is consciously put in there by what truly is like one of the great songwriters of his generation, So again, let's kind of just go through both parts back to back, and then just really focus on, well actually what I'll do, I'll play the descending line, right? B minor to A. But let's go from that F sharp. Okay, that still works, going from an F sharp major to a D major to get into the verse, but it seems a little more forced than the other way to do it. B minor, A, much better that kind of flows into it. And again, it's hard to kind of do them back to back to kind of get the full effect. But if you have a guitar, you're playing along at home, try doing that same thing. Really do that same run, or right, very similar, but these kind of subtle differences that really, like I said, make something a little bit musically richer, right? So again, we can even kind of get into a lot of the vocal melody stuff. I think my favorite part of the entire melody is, the entire song really, is when they're going through the verse choruses. The E minor part. Right, if we look at that over that E minor chord, we have the B minor. That melody comes from just a straight up B minor triad. I'm just going 7B, 7G, 9D. Watching and waiting over that E minor. And then we kind of take it, we just came from a B major, which I think is just kind of like, it's really just, like I said, a genius musical way to kind of get, we just left this B major. That has such a distinct flavor because we just left B major and then we went to E minor, but we played a B minor in the vocal melody over it, and then straight up just A, walk it with that minor. I'm playing a minor 7 flat 5, but either A sharp diminished to B minor, and then kind of set it up again with an A to a B, and then that leads us all the way back into the chorus. So really, just awesome song. Definitely check it out. Do yourself a favor and watch the music video too. Iconic music video. I do have a question though. I wasn't around like when this music video, or I guess maybe technically I was born. I don't even know exactly when this came out, sometime in the 80s. There's a lot of stuff in the music video that seems like it's done with a sense of humor. I would like to hear from somebody who was actually there at the time if this stuff was like tongue-in-cheek or not. Like when they do the side-by-side thing where you have like two guys in the band like face-to-face. Was that done ironically or was that actually like legitimately cool in the 80s? I don't know. I really don't even know which way I'm kind of like leaning one way or another. But anyways, if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. And also, like I said, make sure to check out the Ladies from the 80s music video or stream it on one of the streaming services because it is definitely my tribute to a simpler time. And I hope you guys enjoy it. So thanks for checking it out, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.